Hey everyone, my name is Hamaji, and today we're going to be taking a look at Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been playing the game for a while now, and honestly, it's scarily addictive, like really scary. As if I wasn't procrastinating enough, there it is, just on my desk, looking all playable, and no, I will not submit. I have work. God damn it! On top of that, it's one of the most satisfying and genuinely relaxing games I've played in a long time. It's a beautiful game and I love it so much. Props to Nintendo for yet another incredible game. But as I continue to play the game, there's been a few times where I've questioned the logic of certain mechanics or how something is designed. It's never major or game breaking, it never makes me want to quit the game altogether. It's just small things that I would have included or designed differently. So, let's get started. Let me start off by saying that Animal Crossing's user interface is amazing. And yes, I know this is a video discussing the many negatives that Animal Crossing's UI has, but we should also focus on the many positive qualities it brings to the table. So let's start off by talking about the theme. One of the most important parts of a UI is that it reflects the theme of the game. And in my opinion, New Horizons has achieved that really well. It's clean, it's simple, and easy to follow. And they've also kept to the soft, friendly design that everyone has come to know and love over the years of Animal Crossing. And they've stuck to a theme and they've absolutely nailed it. From the larger details like the colors they use, the spacing, the background, the fonts, and even the icons. And of course, there's even the smaller details like the text box moving ever so gently. It's such a small detail, but as a fan of design and interactive design, I love these things and it's incredible. And these are just a few of the many great examples of why Animal Crossing's UI has become so likable. But as great as all of those things are, there are still a lot of oversights that I and many others have come to notice as we continue to play Animal Crossing. And I want to talk about those things and propose some changes that could be made to those areas. The first thing I want to talk about is crafting. Crafting items in general can be really intuitive in Animal Crossing. They show you how many materials you need, and there is no placing things in a 3x3 square like Minecraft. Your villager just does it automatically, and it's really easy. The main issue begins when you want to craft an item more than once. For example, fish bait. You can craft fish bait by digging up clams from the beach and putting it in the crafting table, and all it takes is one clam to make one bait. The main problem is that if you want to make multiple pieces of bait, you can't just select how many you want to craft and out comes the bait. You have to make one, go through a whole sequence of dialogue, and then craft another one, repeating the same process again and again. So, how do we fix this? My first solution was to quickly make a prompt pop up whenever you click craft. The numpad identical to the one in the ATM design would appear, asking for how many items you want to make. Or alternatively, and a much cleaner design from Eggy on Twitter, is to have a design that looks like this. It would have a craft menu and craft one button placed next to one another, and after clicking craft menu, you would have the number you want to craft in the middle with an arrow on each side. And this definitely looks a lot cleaner. But I do think that this can be further optimized. By putting the arrow idea at the bottom of the original menu, we can have a system where they can still add or reduce the number of items they want to make while being able to see just how many crafting materials they will use up and how many is needed. This way they also won't have to go back and forth to see how many items they would end up using in case they can't count. It reduces the amount of pop-ups and is, in my opinion, just a little bit more optimized, but it's still very inspired by Eggy from Twitter, so big thank you. So in Animal Crossing, you can't craft anything without the materials themselves being in your inventory. And yeah, that makes sense. The part that I find just a little bit annoying is when you're crafting at home with the respective materials in your storage, and those materials don't automatically get transported to the crafting table. You have to manually take the individual materials out of the storage into your inventory and then continue crafting. And then when you're done crafting, you have to put the materials in your inventory back into your storage. It's just a lot of unnecessary steps that Nintendo could have made much shorter. Okay, so my design utilizes a toggle function that allows a user to choose whether or not he uses any of his home materials or just the materials inside his inventory. By clicking the minus button, the UI would change and would show a storage icon at the top right. This represents both the materials being used from his home storage and the user's inventory. Inventory, of course, being the first priority and storage being the second. And I think this would be a nice simple way for users to be able to use any extra materials from the storage while also being able to use the inventory materials if they really wanted to. And plus, I think it looks really clean and it gives the user more choice. We don't want to streamline them any more than Animal Crossing has done already, and giving them more detailed choices should make simple tasks like this much more convenient. Alright, so next up on the list of things I would like to improve is tools. I and many others would love to see some indicator of how damaged your tools are. It's really frustrating to have your tools break out of nowhere, and sometimes we just can't be focused enough in the game to keep count of how many times we've used it. I understand that the point of the game is just to relax and go with the flow, and I'm sure that Nintendo has thought about this during development. So with this in mind, I'm going to ensure that my changes are not too distracting or take too much away from the casual flow of the game. So the first and most obvious method is to have a health bar on all the tools. The more you use it, the more the health bar decreases, and it goes from green to yellow to red. I was thinking about having a number of how many uses it would have left, but I feel like it would once again take away from the casual flow of the game. Having a health bar would be a nice visual way to softly remind the player that yes, your tool is breaking and you may want to get ready for that. Another idea I had to go on top of that is to have a counter similar to when you eat fruits in the game to show how many hits your item has left, and it only pops up when you're using the item. Personally, I think this is really subtle and nice. It's not really in your face, it's out of the way, and it fits within the theme of Animal Crossing. And of course, just like the fruit indicator, it disappears when you're not using the item. And here's a few other examples of me using other tools. The other way we could go about this is by making the tools themselves glow red or having some damage textures. This way it could indicate to the user that they have been using it pretty often, but would not give a number, rather just a small hint that it may break soon. And the best way to separate this, in my opinion, would be 0% used, 25% used, 50% used, 75% used, and of course 100% used when it does end up breaking. I would actually really like to see this because once again, there's no numbers, it's not cluttered, and it's just textures. It's just a way to remind players that hey, your shovel is breaking, be careful. I gave quite a few solutions for this, so if you'd like, down in the comments below, please do tell me which one you prefer. So let's talk about the tool ring. It's a great quality of life inclusion in the game, and it makes for some really convenient item selection, which I absolutely love and have no complaints about. It's way better than having to go to your inventory, manually selecting the tool, and then going back out of your inventory to use it. However, when using the tool ring, you have to first hold the up arrow on the D-pad and then use your left analog stick to select your tool. Simply put, that's not very ergonomic at all. Here's why. Okay, so let's use Breath of the Wild as a good example of what to do. You have the left D-pad, and this is also used for selecting tools. In this case, swords, Sheikah Slate tools, and shields. But the difference is that you use your right joystick to select and flick through. And this is a lot better for a number of reasons. One, it's more ergonomic, and I feel way more confident when I'm in a fight. Of course, Animal Crossing doesn't have fights, at least I don't think so. But it's also just more accurate because you are usually playing like this, at least I assume. You have a normal grip. To suddenly go into a claw grip just to select an item is a little bit weird. I guess the only thing that I am afraid about is that if you are using a single joystick setup, is that if you're selecting a tool, you will have to use this, which I'm guessing they kept in mind. But couldn't they have made different binds? So if you are using a normal setup, use your right joystick. If you are using this, then I suppose this is your only way of doing it. I don't really know. I'm guessing that is how they went around it, but I feel like it could be a lot better if they thought about that as well. So moving slightly away from the UI, let's talk about ATMs. The ATM has been an amazing feature in all Animal Crossing games, and especially New Horizons when it includes the new Nook Miles feature, which is by far one of my favorite inclusions in the game. With that in mind, one thing that has gone on my nerves along with many other players is the lack of a usable ATM in other players' islands. I can understand if it is a huge programming hurdle to continue loading your island's resources when staying on your friend's island, but it's just such a nuisance when you want to buy something only to realize that you didn't bring along any bells, and then have to fly back to your island to get bells, and then you have to fly all the way back to their island, and all of that takes so long because the loading screen for getting onto someone's island takes forever. And the weirdest part about all of this is that in Animal Crossing New Leaf, the prequel to New Horizons, you could access your ATM on other people's islands. So why the downgrade, Nintendo? I don't get it. I know that Nintendo Online isn't the best, but still, it's a little bit weird. One of the best features in Animal Crossing is the ability to explore your friends' islands and also to invite them to your own. You get to show off your sick island or explore places you've never been to, and you also get to take their resources. You fucking gremlin. But one of the most annoying parts of multiplayer is when they disappear out of your view completely and you have no idea where they are. Then when you ask them where they are, they go, "I'm next to a tree." It makes it really hard to follow them, and sometimes you just want to quickly do your own thing and then catch up to them later on. The lack of any indicator of where they are makes it into some really weird game of hide and seek, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes. So let's take a look at the possible solutions. The first solution I had in mind was to take a page directly from the local play feature, where if the visitor, or in this case another player, leaves the camera, a small indicator pops up telling them exactly where they are and tracks them wherever they go. I originally spent quite a bit of time designing my own version of this, but I really like the original a lot more. But to make it a little bit more applicable to multiplayer, we have to set a few rules. One of the rules would be that if the user is indoors and the other players are outdoors, the arrow completely disappears, and if both of them or more are indoors, it'll act the same way it would outdoors. I really believe that this is a nice simple way to ensure that the user can keep a tab on where their friends are without it being too obnoxious. The icons will also feature the faces of the respective villagers. I also wanted to implement this on the minimap, where it would follow the other villagers around wherever they went. It would show the same icon from the local play feature and ideally would work both on the minimap and full map. This could be a nice inclusion to have, but I do agree that if it's too big, it can make the minimap too cluttered and therefore contradict the minimalistic design language that Animal Crossing is known for. So of course, as always, having an option to toggle it on and off would be the best idea. Decorating items in Animal Crossing is probably one of the most fun ways to personalize your house and island. And it's pretty self-explanatory, it's not very hard to do it. However, one of the annoying parts about customization is the annoying steps that you need to take to access it in the first place. You have to first craft an item, then quit crafting, then restart the crafting menu, and then customize your item. And I know I've been nitpicking a lot at the game, but it's just a little bit unoptimized, and I feel like there's a much better way of doing this. And this one is also inspired by Eggy. Seriously, check her out on Twitter, she does some amazing stuff. So, Eggy has added an option to see designs after pressing Y, sending them to the customization menu, providing a preview. And it's super clean, simple, I really like it. But the one thing that I would do to improve on top of this already nice design is to add a confirm button at the bottom, just like if you were actually customizing the item in the first place. It would then send you back to the crafting menu, adding how many DIY kits is required in the ingredients list, also providing a preview, and then allowing you to craft the whole thing with the design included. And I think this can be a really cool way of making it a bit more optimized without changing the whole thing altogether. Alright, lastly, I want to talk about the airport. The airport itself is pretty damn unoptimized and honestly just weirdly designed. Firstly, Nook Miles tickets. The tickets are notoriously annoying to purchase in bulk. I mean, that's for another video. But why can't I purchase them at the airport? It feels like the perfect place to purchase them to then use when flying. But apparently Nintendo didn't think about that, so you have to go to the ATM in the town hall, purchase that, and then you have to come back and then use the Nook Miles tickets. And, God. Anyways, the possible solutions I can think of is to either have Orville being the holder of those tickets and then you can purchase them off of him directly, or alternatively, have an ATM in the airport so that you're able to withdraw or deposit money and purchase Nook Miles tickets. I don't see what else needs to fit in the airport, so I doubt that one ATM sitting in the corner would drastically change the layout. On top of that, we have the really awkward dialogue menu when speaking to Orville. It's weirdly unpolished and it takes a while to select something that could have been put much earlier. For example, if you want to fly to a friend's island, you have to say that you're flying, tell him it's online, then wait, then tell him which way you'd like to fly to your friend's island. It's a lot of unnecessary choices which could have been sped up with some forward thinking. One of the worst ones in my opinion is if you messed up typing a dodo code, you have to either retry with that same incorrect dodo code, or if you want to type it again, you have to go through that entire process all over again, and it's just so unnecessary. So while I was trying to figure out the best alternative to Orville's dialogue options, I ended up finding this post on Reddit by a user named 2E7EN, where he lists out probably the best dialogue options I've seen for Orville, and honestly, it's perfect. You're able to pick all of the important options in one menu and you don't have to go through a whole wall of dialogue. It's simple, it's easy, and it really makes you think, why didn't Nintendo just make it like this? Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do press the like button, and if you want to see more, please do subscribe. I would also really like to know which UI improvement you prefer the most, and if you have any ideas or if I missed anything out, please do tell me as well. If you guys would like to support this channel, I have a Patreon. You can also join my Discord server or follow me on Twitch, and also have a Twitter where I post updates pretty frequently. With that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!